Good morning, everyone. This is the Spartan, and this is Spartan News. These are your Russian war losses for as of June 21st, 2023, day 483 of Russia's illegal war in Ukraine. So the troop losses have come back down to normal. So I assume yesterday's 1,010 was a combination of some very large hits over the late weekend and early Monday, being sort of confirmed and added into that total. Also, sometimes wonder with these roundings, but so yesterday's troop losses over the last 24 hours was 222. It brings us to 222,000. The total was 540. Zero planes, zero helicopters, 22 armored personnel carrier or 21 armored personnel carriers, which is kind of standard. Crazy to think, just standard. 22 vehicles lost, which is 6,667 vehicles and fuel tanks. It seems like they and the APVs are having a battle to see who's going to finish on top for losses. Zero cruise missiles, which is good. Broke the 4,000 mark in tanks. 9 tanks yesterday, which is a large amount of tanks. Brings us to 4,006. 3 anti-aircraft warfare systems. I actually watched a video. It's really low quality, but I watched a video of an FPV drone taking out a SAM system that was on the move on the road. It's nice to see the sort of the video confirmation to back up the claims, which sometimes can just be numbers on a paper, right? But they are indicative of activity and tend to, the Ukrainian numbers tend to really reflect what you see in the news, either just before or just after those numbers come out, which is like, advances or large hits or large movements in troops and train stations being, railway hubs in Russian occupied territory being hit, that sort of thing. 3 anti-aircraft warfare systems. I believe I said that. 32 artillery, which is on the high side. Mid 20s, mid to low 20s seems to be the typical target. So 32 is quite substantial. And again, that's 32 less artillery systems that are shooting at Russian troops. It's a great equalizer when you can take those out. 8 special equipment, bring it to 539. 35 UAVs, which is large. It's between the drones, the Shaheeds, etc. No ships, 1 MLRS, bringing it up to 615, still sitting on 1 Kerch and we have officially broken the 67 billion in losses. And just sort of a little food for thought. Normally, you hear the standard military NATO, doctrine that basically says that a military should have 3-to-1 force numbers when attacking, and then they'll instantly say that the attacking force will lose 3-to-1 as far as men and equipment. What I will say is that's when you've got sort of equal peer-on-peer battles, technologically and intelligence-wise and logistics-wise. This is not an equal peer battle. This is the Ukrainians have an advantage in all aspects except maybe numbers, total volume, and they're starting to, in country, I think they're starting to actually bring a lot of the numbers in line as well, as far as either quality or quantity of equipment, man, machine, etc. The other thing to keep in mind too is that people will tell you, okay, well, if the Russians lost 540 troops, then the Ukrainians must have lost 1,620 troops because it's 3-to-1. No, that's not how it's working. One, the Ukrainian troops are not just going force on force, like battle on battle, a wall of tanks hitting a wall of their tanks and going strength on strength. They are being very strategic and smart and attacking weaknesses, probing, pausing, that sort of thing. And then on the flip side, the Russians in numerous areas, too numerous to mention, they've been basically told if you get attacked, counterattack right away. We've seen the Ukrainians attack, make gains, take land, take towns, that sort of thing, and then instantly you'll see the Russians pop out of their trenches and backline positions or whatever, and basically charge back into said town or said field or tree line that they lost. Someone's telling them to retake that land and punch the Ukrainians right afterwards. So it's not like the Russians are just basically staying hunkered down, dug in, and the Ukrainians are taking 3 times the losses of the Russians. I would posit based on the professionalism, the training, the logistics, the planning, etc., that the ratios are completely out of whack, and the Russians are still losing at least 3 times, if not more, troops and equipment than the Ukrainians are, just because the Ukrainians are being smart. It is a meat grinder. South and eastern occupied areas are a meat grinder right now. The Ukrainians are suffering losses, but the standard military doctrine does not apply, in my opinion. Something to keep an eye on. I would also, anybody listening to this, I'm telling you, keep an eye on the Kherson region. Every single thing, every piece of news that I hear involves Russians moving men, troops, equipment, artillery, etc., out of the Kherson region and into the, Zaporizhia, etc., oblasts, fortifying reserves, fortifying front lines, throwing them into the attack, moving all the way up to Bakhmut, Avdiivka, etc., northern Kharkiv region. Every expert just keeps saying you can't cross the Dnieper, you can't cross the Dnieper. The dam was blown. Well, the dam was blown a long time ago, and that area started to dry out. The water levels have completely receded, and Ukraine has not lost the ability to get across small and large bodies of water. So I'm telling you right now, if you're listening to this, keep an eye on the Kherson region. I think that the Ukrainians are probing and prodding and drawing troops away from the Kherson region on purpose. I think that they have 10 brigades at a minimum in reserve that are untouched, not in the battle right now. And I think there is going to be an effort to get special forces across the Dnipro to set up large bridgeheads once they have the Russian troops fixed in positions and in battle in the Zaporizhia, for example, area. And I think you're going to see a large push across the Dnipro, and I think that large push is going to be met with very little resistance because the Russians have pulled so much of their equipment out of that area, and the Ukrainians have allowed Western media to tell everybody that there's no way there's an attack coming from there. So keep an eye on it. I may be wrong, but I have a very, very strong gut instinct that I'm right. So we'll see. Anyways, have a great day. We'll talk soon. Slava Ukraine.